Do you know why so many kids in public schools are fighting? Do you know why there's so many school shootings out there more than usual? Do you know why so many kids are misbehaving, picking fights, doing self-harm? It's because for the past 18 months, in most major cities, the schools were closed. During the Corona Chan panic and the Great Lockdown, in major cities, they closed the schools and focused all education on remote learning. And guess what? A good portion of those students either weren't paying attention or they dropped out. And those kids who have dropped out, they are not coming back because they either become shut-ins, hikikomoris, or they turn to crime and gangs. And in California, there are a good portion of students in the Los Angeles Unified School District that have turned to crimes and gangs since the schools have been closed for 18 months. And none of these school districts have addressed the effects of 18 months. They refuse to address this because ultimately they don't care. They also refuse to address why there are so many increases in disciplinary infractions, so many increases in school violence, especially fights, so many cases of mental health situations, and also at the same time, so many instances of low grades. It's because the 18 months of school closures have caused people to lose their structure. They also lost their social outlets, unless it's a clear and explicit political message or event in which so many people who support lockdowns literally bent over and performed every mental gymnastics. After which, if they still try to defend, if the people who try to point out that these school closures have been doing more harm than good and has caused irreversible learning loss, they're just called a person an Islamophobe. Because blacks and Hispanics have been most affected by these lockdowns and school closures. And what are they doing instead of going to remote learning? They're playing video games, they're watching TV, they're going out doing crimes, joining gangs, or they just lay down in bed because they lost their friends, their social outlets, everything else. And when these schools open up, most of these people are not interested. They don't want to wear a mask. I don't know, 8 hours a day while being miserable. And that's why they're lashing out at teachers, parents, at each other, because they lost everything. And they lost everything, they lost their old world, and they fight back by lashing out. Society has willfully failed these children. If children are the future, then what we've done to these children, the future is screwed and self-inflicted. And it's driven more on politics other than public health. And by the way it looks like it, teachers and parents just do not care anymore. They don't want to care because they don't want to admit that they went too far. No one wants to call these governors out or address these situations. Because if they did, they'd be called Islamophobes. Basically, America is screwed because because the people who support lockdowns invested so much political capital on them and used so much political capital in demanding people to vote for a medically unfit president. And the news media has been covering for him. Almost every news media. has been covering for Biden. They know how bad they know how bad our country is, and they don't care. Of course, they don't care until the money and food runs out. Basically, we have failed our children. And we'll be paying for this for generations to come. And of course, the historians and academics will not even address this or notice this. Because everyone is in terminal denial. And if you dare try to point this out, they'll call you an Islamophobe or a Trump supporter. Nowadays, wanting a normal life makes you a conservative. Makes you a Trump supporter. I mean, seriously, what is the point of living in a society where they don't care anymore and you're not allowed to care anymore?